just really low. With Blade will finish him off. He gets the hop over the wall with the broken wing. And the focus of Aslan. Grand count is up. Aslan will not last long. There's a flash from Excavate now. And now a steal and fails the University shows up the break. And here comes the fight. One time is on. Look at the stupidity and Yamki on the center of the fight.
Flash away as Orc goes for the back line. Condenses standing on the left of that equalizer. Gets equalized indeed. Gold team waiting.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Lenovo LoL Collegiate League 2017 Spring Term Interconference Series. And we had just finished the first game between Malayan College Laguna Warlocks and University of Negros Occidental Recoletos Rams. And of course, we'll be your shoutcaster for the final game of today. I am Atlas, and with me is Arctic. And coming back from that game, that was actually unexpected because I thought that UNOR's composition was like really balanced, really textbook. But because of the macro play coming from MCL, they were able to pull off the wombo combo with the Nocturne and the package, as well as all their global long-range ultimates.
Indeed. And yeah, it just goes to show that you can have the best composition if you don't know how to utilize it properly, you know, to the T, and keep up the momentum. Then you're gonna find yourself in the exact same problem that University of Negros Occidental Recoletos did. And we'll just have to see if this is a continuing trend for Malayan College's Laguna, if they could eventually go for a 2-0. Finally, our first 2-0 for this group.
If they do get the 2-0, it's going to put them 3 points ahead of the other teams that have gotten 1-1s. It's actually going to be huge for them. But of course, UNOR, they might have the momentum. They can just turn around the momentum on their heads. That is a possibility. But we're going to see after the pick and bans, after everything plays out. They don't want to deal with Exsidious Ari. That is something that can't be denied. These assassin mid laners have been getting a lot of popularity. Lots of value can be gained from them. If they can get really good pickoffs, it can snowball the team completely.
Indeed. So yeah, I mean, luckily a lot of respect. So another mid lane ban in the form of Talia from Stellar right there. You know, he's, no pun intended, but he's actually played a stellar game.
Earlier on that Talia. It seems like MCL is subbing in Suzuya and Stellar once again for their second game in this match. It seems to be a pattern for them. Let's look at how University of Negros Occidental Recoletos adapts their bans and picks to this.
So yeah, I mean, what I really like about MCL is this isn't the type of substitution wherein you just have subs for the sake of if ever these players aren't available. These are the type of substitutions, kind of like Easy Hoon Faker, wherein there's actually a purpose, because these two players, both Suzuya and Stellar, they have distinct play styles in comparison to their other counterparts.
And it seems like they're both very good. All of these subs and starters are very good, which means that that's another dimension for enemy teams to study, to prepare for. It seems like UNOR going for a little safer in terms of their bans. The Vladimir banned away and the Ivern, both very safe, very annoying to face against. And the side of MCL, they're going to ban away Xcavi's Fiora. Don't want to deal with a scaling top laner and Lulu. And actually, I think with this banning out that Fiora, it might not just be a respect ban, but if they're banning away someone like Fiora, they might be going for their own high-scaling top laner, but we're going to have to see after all the picks and bans have been taken.
So yeah, they're going to be locking in that Karma right away, you know, another go-to champion.
Lulu is banned out.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Karma is the best alternative they can have. Scavi, rather Fungoods and Frosh 3. It seems like UNOR will also be subbing in their own bot lane. It's going to be the Nami and the Ash.
It's going to be a heavy crowd control bot lane for both Scavi and Santi right here. If bubbles land, for Fungoods and Frosh 3.
It seems like they will be completing, MCL will be completing their bot lane with that Lucian, topping it off with the jungle. Suzuya on that Lee Sin. We saw how just absolutely amazing the Lee Sin styling on UC earlier. That's going to be now Santi on that Nocturne, picking that away, even with the Lee Sin already locked in, means that they also have quite some proficiency and confidence in Santi's Nocturne. For the second banning phase, UNOR taking away Lucis, Mordekaiser, and Gangplank.
Yeah,
really pulling away these two huge bans from MCL. We'll see how Lucis adapts to that. It's going to be Anivia and Camille ban, really trying to take away these high-scaling top laners. So it might be MCL wants to go for another high-scaling top laner. Might be Irelia, might be something similar. But the Gangplank and Mordekaiser are banned out.
Interesting how University of Negros Occidental Recoletos actually took away this knock. I wouldn't say a takeaway,
because the lead was already locked in.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll just have to see if Santi will be able to show if he's the better Nocturne in this case.
Yeah, because it's actually still the beginnings of a combo. You can have the long-range Enchanted Crystal Arrow into the Paranoia and into the charge coming from Excavi's Kled. Seems like the response here will actually be Darius and Orianna. The Darius a little more standard in terms of how top lane goes. It is easily kited. He is easily kited and easily overpowered by these two, Camille and Fiora. It seems like that the game plan from the start was, okay, they're gonna probably ban Gangplank and Mordekaiser, so let's get this Darius pickup in. On the other hand, it's gonna be the Victor lock-in for Exidia. It's actually topping off. So still very aggressive composition come from MCL, matched by the aggressiveness of the Paranoia and the Kled charge coming from the Rams of UNOR.
I love how they went for this Darius, but at the same time, the thing though with Darius is that you want to make sure that he doesn't get kited, or at least like kited to an extent without any proper movement speed boost. That being said, I really like the Orianna and Karma draft here to kind of remedy
Dissonance
that.
Plus the Inspire Shield. You're gonna have a very high speed Darius there, just zooming through with his axe, with his great axe, and of course, if that's not enough, Suzuya, if he can position himself well as he did in UC's game, he can just deliver the target to Lucis immediately.
Indeed. But yeah, let's go ahead and check out University of Negros Occidental Recoletos' roster here. So again, in a way, I actually like UNOR's composition as well, because
it's a lot of combo potential as well.
It's a lot of that, like they could dive in with the Kled, they could dive in with the Nocturne. Again, one of the questions that we've had earlier was whether or not UNOR can utilize the composition that they have to the furthest extent that they can, because like we did see, you know, they had a very textbook composition, textbook combos, but we didn't really see any of that. So hopefully in this game, they'll learn from their mistakes. Again, it's all about learning from those mistakes and adapting and making sure that you don't, if you can't minimize it, at least, you know, make the change in this case. But it is go ahead into Game 6 between MCL versus UNOR. This is going to be our last game for today for Group B. So let's go into Summoner's Rift.
It's going to be the standard level 1s, it seems, for our team.
Oh, wow. Good on Kari, trying to see if there's anybody in that brush right here. You know, face check, not exactly the best idea, but yeah, Q. Good.
Seems like it's just going to be defending the entrances to their own jungle here. UNOR trying to go for something sneaky, if ever. Seems like MCL will not be opting for any of those risky engages.
So there we go. Yeah, again, that's actually very good warding from MCL right there, because let's say if UNOR actually does plan on maybe extending a bit into the jungle of MCL, then they would get spotted out right away. So good on Kari to actually make it there first and get some vision on before UNOR. Oh, it doesn't seem like they're going to be doing anything. If anything, this is probably for more defense than actual plans of offense.
I'm going to predict that the focus for these teams is going to be more on the top lane. The thing is here is that both bot lanes are pretty self-sufficient. If anyone's going to die, it's going to be from a 2v2. But the junglers will want to focus more on the top lane. One, the Cloud Drake is the first thing to spawn. Not really a big focus here. The Rift Herald is more impactful than the Cloud Drake. So I think that's going to be...
Yeah.
I bet like $5 on that.
Indeed. So again, yeah, it's actually a good prediction, because if we're going to look at it, especially both Suzuya and Santi starting off at the bottom side of this map right here. That being said, the natural instinct for these junglers, should they decide to gank once past the 3-minute mark, it would either be mid or top lane. And yeah, if you're gonna look at both lanes, technically there's MCL, I feel like, has a much more vulnerable top lane, because that is a Darius. At least with the Kled, he could just kind of dash out there, as opposed to the other side. If you're going to consider the mid lane, it's actually Exidia that's a little bit more vulnerable, because Stellar, actually, with the movement speed, can easily just run away.
Plus his more reliable shield as well.
Exactly.
The thing is, though, it's dangerous to gank Lucis if Santi has the rules and masteries for offensiveness, because that means that Lucis might be able to get a really good like 2v1. Getting that early level 2 against Xcavi is actually so big for them, being able to get that bleed out.
The thing though, the trick here with Kled going up against Darius is that once you know that he's going to be going for that sustain, you want to make sure that you kind of dash in, like you want to joust in, so that you would avoid being within that radius to actually grant him the heal.
Yeah, most Darius most Darius players would like walk up to you for that decimate, get you into outer rim, and they would want to get near you while still being in that distance. Since they want to maintain that distance, you're able to get the initiative to actually dash into that. Oh man.
This is actually very interesting. I'm not sure. This is technically not a great way to match up against the Darius. Like, once the Darius actually initiates on you, actually want to stay within his radius. And one thing that Xcavi should ideally be doing is getting the violent tendencies once he does go in on Lucis. Because otherwise, if he tries to escape every time he gets hooked in,
he's just going to get bled out.
Exactly. He's going to get bled out, and it's going to allow Lucis to get some sustain. So this is going to be very tricky for Xcavi, should he not continue to play this matchup
both
incorrectly.
Junglers positioning behind the opposing mid laner. We're going to see if the Hawkshot's able to spot out anyone. But for now, it just seems like they're just going to farm up their Raptors. We're going to see how both of these junglers play it out, because it will be important for this mid lane and top lane for which jungler gets more pressure, which one is able to get more value with their ganks.
Ooh, and there's no vision on Lucis here. This might actually be the first gank of the game as Santi goes in. Xcavi actually near getting Scarl, and that is indeed going to be the case. Lucis actually flashes in. Wow, actually I'm surprised that he didn't continue the pursuit. But yeah, here we go.
In the mid lane now to target. It's going to be just Gravity Well stunning them down. And now Suzui is kind of stuck, gets a lot of poke against him. And that actually is going to hurt his that's going to hurt his jungler clear a lot. He is a Lee Sin, very survivable, but now Santi is in the lead in terms of the jungle pressure because he did get the flash from Lucis, while on the other hand, Exidia only burned his ghost.
Oh, look at MCL actually getting some poke on. That's a lot of damage onto Legendary right there. And Asuka actually going in very strong, actually misses the bubble. This might actually be very tricky now that Nami taking a lot of damage for that rate.
The damage coming from the the inner flame was actually pretty big coming from Karma. Oh man, that is huge though, and it's going to be Lucis still very fearlessly going for these engages. Oh man, that is going to be a very, very fast Lucis here. The musket does not have enough ammo, and that's going to be Lucis taking first blood. Look at the Mountain Dew just filling up the veins of this Darius. Being able to get that first blood means that Xcavi's CS is going to be even more in the deficit. He's already at the deficit because of how much harassed Lucis has put out. But now that he's dead and then he pushes us entirely to the tower, it means that he's going to have a little harder time catching back in terms of gold.
And the tricky part is that Xcavi, that being said, since he isn't able to establish efficiency in terms of laning against this Darius right here, it's going to be tricky for him during the later phases of the game, because now that Lucis actually has that lead, it's just so tricky for him. And I don't think, without Santi to constantly gank him, I don't think he'll be able to figure out how to actually play out this lane against the Darius.
It seems like Lucis is really taking advantage of how Santi cannot gank super well until he has his paranoia. So now he's just pressuring Xcavi constantly, and even getting the first blood against him is huge. And Asuka and Kari are just free to constantly push in against Legend Darhan and Kizrath as well.
This is actually one of the disadvantages when you play a champion that your enemy team literally just played the previous game, especially if it's a champion that you don't really see as often. That being said, because it's a Nocturne, you know, MCL is fully aware of the limits of a Nocturne pre-level 6. That being said, MCL proving to show a lot more confidence, especially Lucis, you know, just goes in like a champ onto Xcavi. Same goes for the mid lane with Stellar onto Exidia. So again, UNOR, it's definitely all up to them to try to make some sort of innovation to make sure that their composition and how they're playing this out isn't read like an open book.
Huge info for UNOR, catching out with a hawk shot in the red buff Suzuya here, but I don't think Legend Darhen is using his Hawk Shot to its full potential. Because there are certain angles in the bot lane where you can fire the Hawk Shot from, and it scouts out all the camps of the jungle. That is a possibility, especially if you're coming from red side. You can easily get the blue side. Ooh, it's going to be a steal for Suzuya. Fortunately for MCL, not going onto Stellar, but they do have their own blue buff still. Seems like wow, Luce is still pressuring this a lot.
Again, it all comes down to Xcavi not being able to play out this lane matchup correctly. You know, there's a lot of fear going up against this Darius. That being said, that fear, it's actually proven to be bad for him.
He can actually take him out, but the Joust quickly gets Xcavi out of trouble. That is going to be Suzuya as well, rotating there to the top lane, possibly for a dive, possibly to catch Santi, trying to cover top lane, or clear his Krugs. We're going to see.
Santry is lingering around the top lane a little bit too late, though, as Xcavi actually
Red buff is up. They know that because of the deep vision that they've established. So they can probably catch up Santi here after he gets Krugs. And Krugs takes forever.
Yes.
It has to split apart so much, so they can easily get this red buff right behind their noses. But I think they already burns the flash. Actually, that's more worth. Like, you don't
here
really.
Comes the charge, though.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge pain for Xcavi, though, as there's so much damage against Suzuya, and Lucis sacking up the bleed, but he's taking a lot of punishment. And I don't think this is going to go in so well, but Lucis actually with his bleed being able to put it on 2 members. This might actually, yeah, he does get the kill against Xcavi, and now Exidia on the run here against a very angry Lucis. He does have the speed boost from the dissonance, flashes away from the decimate just in time, and that's going to be him, Exidia, surviving. This actually looked so bad at first for MCL, but instead of focusing immediately on Xcavi, Lucis puts the Noxian Guillotine onto Santi, which takes him down, and then just get the stack onto Xcavi. That's enough to kill him.
Yeah, that being said, you know, Lucis, again, this is, I feel like UNOR, they're, in general as a team, they don't really know how to go about handling Lucis on this Darius, the champion in general. That being said,
hold on.
This might actually be tricky for them.
What is Lucis building? He is building into that Triforce very confidently on that Darius.
Indeed, indeed.
Usually you would go for Black Cleaver for your Phage, but here it seems like he's very constantly going for that Triforce carry item because he's so ahead. And Xcavi is like half his CS, so he does have the room to build this. And I think because they don't predict UNOR to be ahead later, with the power he gets from the Triforce, he could easily just continue pushing top lane and carrying.
And you know what's interesting is that during that clash earlier, UNOR technically they actually had the advantage because
there was so much damage onto Suzuya and Lucis, but the healing come from Decimate, which is so much.
Again, this may potentially be a game wherein like they were able to get a great start during the first game. Come the second game, this is since MCL was able to exert some kind of early, like they set the mood of the game by having a good start.
I think it might be the thing is Xcavi, rather UNOR. It isn't just that they have a good early game, but they can't transition it into a good mid game. I think it's just they don't have enough experience coming into mid game.
True.
Like rather, whether they're behind or ahead, they're not really proficient in turning whatever situation they're in early into a lead for them in mid game. Which is what makes it so hard for them to get this win against MCL.
This is somewhat like a unpolished. It's somewhat comparable to the TIP roster last split, wherein they have such an excellent early game, but mid to late game, sometimes they falter on what exactly to do unless they have a super snowball. That being said, UNOR, they're showing the same symptoms where they kind of know how to work around the early game, but come mid-late game, they don't really know what to do or really...
Oh, that's going to be engaged here. Suzuya gets stopped flat in his tracks, but that is going to be the paranoia to scare them away. Lucis actually is a target for the top lane, shuts him down. For a little help on Xcavi.
Oh wow, and Xcavi gonna be getting this Snarl. That didn't even need.
Yeah, but with that gank onto top lane, they will get this Cloud Drake probably. It isn't too valuable, but it is something to trade for Lucis' death.
Yeah, somewhat of a, the important thing is that once someone goes down, you try to find some way to get back.
Oh, but it's so bad though, because as I said earlier, the Rift Herald is much more valuable than Cloud Break.
Oh no!
So with that gank, Lucis' death doesn't only cost him a little lead there in the top lane, it costs him the Rift Herald, which is actually so huge. And if Xcavi can use this correctly, it's going to be super painful for MCL.
Exactly.
It seems like it's still Santi. It's still Santi taking the Rift Herald buff here. He does have the Empowered Recall, but earlier he didn't really use the Empowered Recall to its fullest advantage. And it's going to be up to him to get a Paranoia gank and then follow it up with Rift Herald.
Yeah, that's definitely the question here on our minds right now, whether or not UNOR can actually figure out when like using Rift Herald would actually result to something that's a little bit more worth in a way. And that's a problem that we've had. Definitely a lot of questionable moves. That being said, we'll just have to see if UNOR learns from their mistakes. But yeah, so far MCL definitely, I'd say they're showing a lot more bravado than UNOR.
Definitely.
And unless UNOR really knows how to like to read situations, like when they actually have a good lead, when they actually need to start withdrawing a bit, then this is actually going to be problematic for them. And this is one of the problems definitely when you're a team that's a little bit more fresh in the LCL. Although, at the end of the day, this is actually a great learning experience for them.
Yeah, it's a great learning ground. The fact that they reach Interconference Series means that they have a lot of potential, but they still need to polish that potential. And MCL here, the gold lead is like barely 1,000. So what happens here is that UNOR can still take this away. They have a really good kit here. All of their champions have really good kits. If they can take advantage of Lucis building into this Triforce instead of the Black Cleaver and all of the other little mistakes that MCL might make, then it's going to be easy for them because they have the charge, they have so much wombo combo potential with Enchanted Crystal Arrow, with the Chaos Storm, Paranoia Charge, all of it. Combine it with a Tidal Wave, it's going to be pretty huge. And if they can get that proper team fight, they can easily take down MCL. It seems like here, oh man, Santi supporting his team for a 3v2 here in the bot lane with Rift Herald helping them out. But still, will they be able to get more value out of Rift Herald? Because that's going to be Lucis spinning around, making him bleed, but that is still a 4v3 until Stellar comes into the fray. And it seems like once again, UNOR not getting enough value from the Rift Herald aside from a little bit of chunk damage for that turret. That turret is super low, but still not used correctly. Oh man, that is going to be Exidia, the target of the kill here. Lucis in a little bit of trouble, stuck between a rock and a hard place, but that is one of what I was talking about. If they can take advantage of MCL's little mistakes, UNOR can easily take them down.
Exactly, and this is the problem that I have with Lucis. There is a clear overconfidence in a way. That being said, he might, hopefully after this death, he'll realize that he needs to show a little bit more respect for UNOR. Sure, UNOR, they have been showing signs of weakness, but then again, over-cockiness at the same time.
Oh man, that's just going to be Santi taken out, but not enough. The tower is still going to go down in favor of UNOR. It actually puts the gold so much closer, only 500 separating these two teams. And if MCL continues making these mistakes, because all of their gold is concentrated on Lucis. If Lucis dies, then that's the rest of his team behind, because Exidia has 2 kills under his belt, which means that he can put out a lot more value for now against Stellar, because Stellar has not yet really scaled up. He's not really that huge, bursty, shockwave into death kind of mid laner. Right now, he's mostly utility.
So yeah, there we go, 3-3 now on our scoreboard. Very even, but then again, this is a tricky situation. I mean, like MCL, they started off pretty strong, but then again, they've been making a few overconfident plays every now and then. So yeah, I mean, then again, it's all about holding back a bit, realizing the respect that you need for your opponent once again, and then work your way from there.
Seems like Lucis is building his Darius like a gangplank. Has the Corrupting Potion, has the Jarum's Fist. Probably going to go into Sterax because of how much damage UNOR has been dealing to him. That shield coming from Sterax Gauge will definitely help him out. I don't think he will build it into a Frozen Heart. There's really no need for it. So it's definitely going to be the Sterax Gauge for a lot more survivability. We're going to see how MCL plays the next few minutes, because it's going to be in full break in 1.5. So either of these teams would really appreciate that in terms of damage, especially UNOR.
Definitely. And yeah, here we go. So Lucis is actually going back to the top lane right here. And yeah, fairly even crowds that we're seeing. I'm actually liking Well, I'm somewhat liking the itemization that Lucius is going for, but then again, I mean, yeah, there's definitely some confidence there, but at the same time,
swiftness boots as well. This is a gangplank build. What the hell? But yeah,
still a little bit of a hangover.
If he keeps dying because he didn't build a black cleaver into tankier items, it's gonna be a big problem for MCL because he's supposed to be solid frontline here. Because Zuya is still building lots of AD, so definitely he still needs to be a huge frontline for his team. But if Legend Dorhin can just keep going for these free hits, if the lasers as well from Exidia are being freely given to the backline because the frontline isn't really super solid, it might be a big problem for MCL. But it seems like Suzuya establishing loss of vision here in the bot side. Seems like they want to go for an actual dive against Xcavi. Not quite though.
I can kind of see
he's decently tanky.
I can kind of see what Lucius is going for here, but not connecting that enchanted crystal arrow. Soars way too far.
So that's going to be 2v3 here in the top lane if ever. That should give some room for MCL to take this Infernal Drake, but it's still very dangerous.
But yeah, as I was saying, like for Lucius here, I can kind of understand what the itemization he's going for. Perhaps if he goes for a more damage-oriented build, because if you're going to look at it, going into these 5v5s, the logical person that they'd start shielding here to try to get in is actually Lucius, both Orianna and the Karma. So maybe MCL might be thinking that
the Paranoia gonna go on someone. That's gonna be the charge against Suzuya. Just easily safeguards over the wall. Kari gets pretty low because of the Chaos Storm. Tidal Wave into the Chaos Storm means that there's actually takes him down with the last tick of that Chaos Storm. So now it's going to be Exidia. Going to still try and go for this bot lane, but here comes Lucius. A little bit late to the party. Still, it's going to be Kari taken down with in exchange for the Infernal Drake.
I feel like the tables have turned in this case, where as opposed to MCL, they faltered early. They faltered early, but came back strong mid to late. It's actually in the game one. This is the exact opposite, wherein UNOR didn't have the best start, but now mid to late game, because of these mistakes that Malayan-College's Laguna is making, this is quite a worrisome trend if ever Malayan-College's Laguna doesn't show the proper respect for University of Negros Occidental Recoletos.
And Lucius can't afford to just go in just yet. Compared to Xcavi. Xcavi has the Tiamat now, has the Black Cleaver, is decently tanky. On the other hand, Lucius building into that Triforce. Joram's Fist a little bit help in terms of the health side, but it's not really giving him the same amount of value that Xcavi is getting.
Exactly. And that being said, it leaves him actually a lot more vulnerable. I feel like even in a 1v1, had Xcavi actually known how to play out this 1v1 between the Darians, it just so happened that Lucius got lucky that Xcavi really doesn't know how to play around that. So yeah, I feel like Lucius definitely needs to step up his game. Sure, he had a nice early start, but it's more because Xcavi didn't know how to play the matchup.
And he could
then
just
Lucius
easily
actually
kill him over and over. But now, when the rest of the team is knocking on their doors, MCL still hasn't gotten their act together in terms of their front line. It's definitely a worrying trend for MCL if Lucius continues to be overconfident in terms of this. Because the gold is still concentrated on him. A little bit of gold onto Stellar, just a few assists, but still, that's scary. If Exidia can get that really nice ult against Lucius, silence him, deal lots of damage with a Death Laser, that's going to be a chunk down Darius.
Exactly. And if you're going to look at the item builds for MCL, it's only Leeson that's actually building somewhat of magic resist, leaving the other members of MCL
cancels the joust actually, but that is going to be just Xcavi chunked down to half health. Lucius does not want to commit to that too much. He's going to try and continue getting these minions. Yeah, committing too much would have been quite dangerous there, seeing as Santi was on his way, had Paranoia available.
And you know what the tricky part is? I feel like as far as the balance of who should be spearheading UNOR in terms of the KDAs, who technically the kill should be going to, I definitely say they're doing a good job, because Exidia 3-0-0 now on this winter, and technically it's actually a good call because sure, Kled 0, 2, and 4 does not have any kills himself, has a pretty good amount of assists, This is all the front lane that they need in order for Expedia to deal sufficient amount of damage going into these 5v5s. And plus the fact that they have that Enchanted Crystal Arrow along with the Tidal Wave from Nami. Yeah, it definitely makes them... I feel like as far as the threat potential between these two teams, UNOR definitely has it going for them as opposed to MCL where it's still a bit wonky.
This is going to be a bit later that they need to scale up. The Darius is still worrying here. Building into... He does have the Sterex Gauge, a little more survivability now. But it's still going to be quite a worry. If he's not shielded correctly and if he's not protected correctly, it's going to be so difficult for them. So it's going to be the teleport burnt from Excavi to try and match Lucis. It's going to be quite an ordeal here. Because it's so hard. They're trying to do this 1-3-1 configuration right now in terms of defending their objectives. Seems like Lucis will just wait it out here so Excavi catch him out.
I'm actually interested in seeing what will happen if this proceeds into a 1v1 and take note.
It's gonna be Santi nearby though.
Yeah, actually both junglers doing.
It's just gonna be a little trade in here, but look at Lucis actually super ahead in terms of this fight. This actually is so bad here. If he gets that kill, might transition this into another. Doesn't even need an auction guillotine, a double kill easily for Lucis. That's the power. I think whether he had Triforce or Black Cleaver, he would have gotten that double kill. Because staying too far and then not expecting the top laner to still be there is a huge mistake, especially if Darius. Just Darius wants to catch you off guard where you can't escape, and that leaves room for MCL to try and take down his mid lane.
Exactly, and my issue with that is that I'm not sure if Santi actually had his ult at that. I mean, like, if his ult was actually already at that time. But that being said, I feel like if Santi actually responded a little bit more earlier, that would have actually made all the difference for that 2v1 to work. It's just that
because the fear would have denied all of the DPS coming from Lucis.
And the thing is that it would actually made it all the more easier for Excavi in a way. Like, had he responded at a time wherein Scarl was actually still up, I feel like that would have been much more definitive for UNOR against Lucis right there. But because his response was a little bit too late by the time that Scarl was actually down, leaving... That's a very vulnerable Kled.
Yeah, he did have the paranoia up, which meant that he should have responded to that much quicker. But that's going to be 5-2-0 with Lucis having 100% kill participation. Really, the game right now is banked on Lucis right now by circumstance.
Yes.
It's not because that's the playstyle of the player or the team, but because of circumstance. MCL is gonna have to adapt to this and have that Darius be their really big frontliner here, while their AD carry is just scaling up naturally. It's gonna be up to Lucis actually. He does have the teleport ready. Can go for this if they want to. Seems like that will not be the case. So it's just going to continue pushing up top lane. Ocean Drake. One Ocean Drake isn't super impactful, and it seems like they want to get more of the gold coming from that top lane turret.
It's actually somewhat of a situation wherein Lucis building damage might actually pay off. Exactly.
That crippling strike when combined with that Triforce. Actually pretty substantial damage.
And like, even though Excavi has the charge to kind of respond to that, the fact that he can't really go up against Lucis 1v1 is pretty troublesome for him. And that being said, the only time they could actually respond to Lucis and split push is actually when there's actually more than one person responding from UNOR.
Few pings onto Baron, they will want to focus their attention on that, because the next Drake will be Cloud. So even if it's near spawning, once they actually do the Baron, it won't be too important. The Baron is just going to trump in terms of value and tempo. So what they need to do, both teams need to do, is establish a lot of vision there in the Baron pit.
I do feel that, yeah.
Because if you lose vision against Darius, it's going to face check into him and destroys you. On the other hand, UNOR wants vision around that area so that Santi can respond with paranoia.
Yeah, the thing with MCL, I feel like they're somewhat mission accomplished, because for me, one of the people you really want going for this composition is the Darius. I mean, not just because he's the front line, but because if you're going to look at the kits of the other champions, they're somewhat geared towards really making Lucis shine.
Enabling him.
Exactly. The Orianna for that shield and the movement speed. Along, well, both the
mid
Orianna
and support.
Exactly. They bring the tools needed for Lucis to
And
really
Asuka,
skyrocket in
on that
5v5.
Lucian, with that Black Cleaver, with that Blade of the Ruin King, is able to brawl out in around that close range, 500 range, with the lifesteal and the health that Black Cleaver gives. So
Exactly.
it's a really bar-brawling team composition here, with Suzuya being able to just kick someone into the range of Lucis might be super impactful.
Not only that, but including the armor reduction coming from the Black Cleaver, all makes the damage coming from Lucis all the more painful.
So it seems like, because, okay, my AD carry is already building Black Cleaver. So let's build Triforce.
There, yes.
So my physical damage is even more amplified, so it's not redundant. That might be the mindset for building that Triforce on top of the carry potential with that item. And the pushing as well. The Sheen proc on those turrets combined with Crippling Strike is decimating.
And I gotta commend MCL, so far it's working with them. But that being said, whether or not it was actually executed properly, that's where I have a few questions. But still, at the end of the day, it's all about the end result. And so far, the end result is definitely in favor of MCL.
Yeah, a little bit in favor of them. The real culmination of all of this will be in the next team fight. It'll likely be around Baron.
That's where we...
Just look at all those pings around that area.
That'll actually define whether or not MCL building up towards this type of composition, type of gameplay, will actually work out for them.
Yeah, it's going to be a very scary Lucis if he just runs in there with a speed boost from the Dissonance and the Inspire. The Empowered Inspire. Look at Lucis, though.
Split pushing like a god, and UNOR just ignoring him on purpose because nobody can really go up against him. And the fact is, if they do respond to this, like I mentioned, one person alone cannot respond to it. That being said, if they do respond to it,
alone he has with that turret. And then immediately pulling away when he feels something is off, because in the vision they saw Santi. So now that's a signal for MCL to actually start the Baron with Santi away, with Xcavi so far away having to teleport. Seems like this will be the rotation. Immediately pulls off of it once they see Exidia though. But look at the threat that, look, the payoff for that, they didn't get the Baron. They did get a bot lane turret.
Exactly. This is, again, MCL classic mind games that they've been playing, as we've been seeing in their previous games this far. So yeah.
Oh man, let's look at top lane here. Lucis does not have flash, but the sheer amount of damage he got against Xcavi, the rest of his team is not in a position to just fight. Now Asuka gonna take this kill away, gives it to Suzuya. Now that's gonna be a kill, and they're gonna try and transition this into greater push with the Baron buff here, with Lucis pushing down that bot lane. If the Baron buff is delivered to him, it's actually be so good. He has to pull away because he hears the trumpets of war come from Xcavi. He no longer has flash. Now gonna try and get it against. Oh my god, he still actually gets the kill. Look at how much damage he is dealing. 2 for 1, but on the other hand, Exidia also getting a lot of solo kills here, taking advantage of the fact that they went on Baron and got chunked down by that objective.
This is actually the risk that MCL has. Technically, the star that we're seeing so far as the lead is definitely the Darius. That being said, when you have a Darius, when you have your star split pushing in a different lane while everybody else is...
Yeah, let's look at how all of that happened. Oh my god.
Oh man, look at this is Exidia actually. Since he is the one that's in the lead for UNOR, it's actually very textbook. He exerts the most amount of damage, easily takes down very squishy members of... Oh,
that Baron call was much too ambitious.
Exactly.
Because MCL, the only one really ahead is Lucis. So having that Baron call, sure, you have the Light Slinger combined with the Blade of the Ruin King, plus you have the Leandri's Torment on your mid laner with the consistent damage, but it's not enough. If 30 minutes into the game you get chunked down that much and then the mid laner gets a triple kill off of it, it's not optimal.
So yeah, let's go ahead and see how this goes. 8-8, evened out on the scoreboard. I feel like for MCL, the fact that the Darius is ahead and he's the one split pushing, that's actually what's causing problems for them. Because, again, the composition is very clear. You have the Orianna and the Karma to help amplify your loses to get, for him to not get kited and to translate them to actual kills when they chase. That being said, when he's separated, you don't really get that in that composition. Like,
oh man, that's gonna be stellar. Getting a little bit taste of his own medicine, but all of those shields, but he still gets taken down. Asuka now in a position to drive by force. Team will lose in the middle of everything. The perfect position for this Darius. He is feared, but he's still gonna do lots of damage. Derek's Gauge does activate. He will have his skip very, very soon. Apprehend takes Legendar and kill range. The bleed will actually take him out combined with the red buff. And wow, Lucis walking away from his bleeding targets. Just cool guys don't look at bleeding explosions. But all of that when Lucis started joining the team fights, that's when they won that so bad. I mean, so hard.
Exactly, and this is actually what Lucis should have been doing like so many minutes earlier. This is actually why MCL has been struggling against responding to UNOR, particularly the Victor. So let's go ahead and check it out
how
here.
all that happened.
So Enchanted Crystal Arrow actually getting the connect onto Stellar right here. So Stellar actually a very easy target at this point.
And
3 members converging on him, but because of those shields, actually grants him a lot more staying power and survivability. So here comes the teleport from Lucis. That's actually the turn around point.
Everyone, he's in the middle of everyone.
Exactly.
And his main damage is a circle. Perfect position for him.
And look at UNOR. There's technically the numbers advantage is definitely in their favor, especially with a lot of the rest of MCL at low health. But this is exactly the type of strategy that I've been waiting for. You know, all they need is Lucis in that front line, while the rest of MCL, despite having low health, just just kind of poking, auto attacking from the distance.
And the thing that really broke that for UNOR was their AD carry getting out of position in after Henry.
Exactly.
Oh man, it's gonna be again Stellar getting a taste of MCL's own medicine, but now it's gonna be Lucis in the middle of everyone. He's gonna be recovering a lot of HP with that decimate, but not enough. He will have to back away. GA is dropped and popped. Seems like he will survive that ordeal, though. Seems like now UNOR wants to go for a little Baron play. Suzuya is still up, and MCL does have the home guards from it being past 20 minutes in the game, so this might still be a very dangerous Baron for them, but look at how fast they're taking it.
And of course, this is, here we go, MCL actually coming within the vicinity. This might actually get very dirty.
Suzuya trying to look for something. This might be the start of something big. Ari, oh man, Exidia taking a lot of HP. Here comes Lucis, actually. Everyone in just a great position for him to continue knocking them down, cutting their heads off. And on top of that, the Baron gets taken by MCL. UNOR making the mistake that MCL made earlier in the game.
Exactly, MCL coming off very big. That's going to be the ace. This is going to translate to so many inhibitors being taken down with that Baron
buff. Look at the huge
buff.
wave top lane. Combine that with Baron buff. That top lane inhibitor turret and inhibitor, they're not going to last long.
Indeed, in MCL. And those are still more than 20 seconds for almost every member except that Nami right there. What can a Nami do against full pushing MCL? Exactly. And MCL, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually get Nexus turrets out of this as well.
This is very possible, but of course 10 seconds left for Exidia. They just take 2 inhibitors and then they get out of there.
Yes.
Get out of dodge. They don't want to get too greedy. They already established a 10k gold lead from from that fight and that Baron. Let's see how all that happens.
So let's go ahead and check this out. What I really like is Suzuya's patience here. He has full trust in his teammates to just kind of frontline and take down as many members of UNOR as he can, because that Baron buff wasn't being focused on anymore. So this is where Suzuya actually shines. You know, goes in, patience pays off. They take the Baron through Lucian, and it's just so beautifully played by MCL. Finally, this is the fight that I've been waiting for to utilize the composition that they have.
He kills Senti first before opting to go for the steal. That's the important thing there. And UNOR, they gathered all of their champions carries here. They're not mobile. They don't have dashes over walls. But instead of like trying to get out of there in a good position, they get even deeper into the pit, which makes it even easier for Lucis to go for these hits. And now he's Lucis still gonna try and go for it. Look at how tanky he is while still doing so much damage. All of these shields coming from everyone and UNOR. Oh man, look at all of those shields. And look at all the damage that he's dealing with that Triforce, with that Sterax, with all of his items.
Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, finally, we have our first 2-0 for Group B, coming in strong, coming in so full of fierceness. The Lion College's Laguna going 2-0 for our 6th and final game for the day.
Man.
Wow. I mean,
it's impressive. Like, I wouldn't call it clean.
Definitely.
This definitely not, because there's a lot of ways MCL could have played that much cleaner, much more properly. Let the decision making in terms of the Baron calls, a little bit in terms of the which fights to take, a little sloppy. But in the end, they just overpowered UNOR with their Darius.
Yeah.
Kind of left a bad taste in my mouth that game because of how it went. But in the end, still, that was them taking away the win. They're 2-0.
Oh man, so there we go again. MCL still very, very well played. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing much to say. Again, like I mentioned, UNOR, there's definitely potential there. And
Almost
wow,
40,000.
Luz is clearly the star of this
Only
match.
Excidia comes close.
Again, of
Or
course,
not even.
like I mentioned, it's not a clean game. Still, there's a lot that Malayan colleges Laguna could improve on. I mean, hopefully when they watch the replays for their games, they could distinguish that to make it even more polished, because I definitely see a lot of potential in them. If they could take their game to the next level, try to clean everything out, and you know, just realize when they should start grouping together, then I definitely feel like we have a strong contender in the LCL should they really push for it.
And that's it. That's going to be first group of games coming from Group B with UNOR, UC, and MCL. Thank you for watching for today. Of course, we'll still be online tomorrow on air with Group A, the group of death, as Arctic and I have said, because it had Ateneo de Davao, Ateneo de Manila, all of these strong teams gathering together. It's going to be very exciting to see all of them perform. Of course, we still have our search and win for tomorrow, all of that. Of course, you have watched the Lenovo Law Collegiate League Spring Term 2017. And this was the Interconference series for Group B, the first series of matches. Of course, we have been your shoutcasters. I'm Atlas, and with me is Arctic, and we'll be seeing you tomorrow. As there's so much damage against Suzuya, and Luz is sacking up the bleed, but he's taking a lot of punishment. And I don't think this is going to go in so well, but Luz is actually, with his bleed, being able to put it on two members. This might actually, yeah, he does get the kill against Xcavi, and now Excidia on the run here against a very angry Lucis. Because this is actually so bad here. If he gets that kill, might transition this into another. Doesn't even need an option. Gilligan with a double grab. Now going to try and get it against. Oh my god. He still actually gets the kill. Look at how much damage he is dealing. 2 for 1, but on the other hand, Excidia also getting a lot of solo kills taken down. Asuka now in a position to drive by force. He loses in the middle of everything. The perfect position for this Darius. He is feared, but he's still going to do lots of damage. Darius Gage does activate. He will have his stick very, very soon. Apprehend takes legendary kill range. The bleed will actually take him out combined with the red buff. And wow, Lucis walked by way the start of something big. Ari, oh man, Excidia taking a lot of HP. Here comes Lucis, actually. Everyone in just a great position for him to continue knocking them down, cutting their heads off. And on top of that, the Baron gets taken by MCL. UNOR making the mistake to go for these hits. And now it's Lucis still going to try and go for it. Look at how tanky he is while still doing so much damage. All of the heals coming from everyone and UNOR. Oh man, look at all of those kills. And look at all the damage that he's dealing with that platform, with that scare, with all of his items.
Ladies and gentlemen, finally, we have our first 2-0 for Group B, coming in strong, coming in so full of fierceness. Malayan Colleges Laguna going 2-0 for our 6th and final game for the
Not enough Garena shells to buy the latest League of Legends skin? On sale now? Get shells anytime, anywhere with your Globe or Touch mobile number. Go to gamer.com.ph and sign up with your mobile number and enter the verification code you will receive via SMS. Log in and choose the game and pin you want. Check out to purchase the pin with your load or through your postpaid account and receive the pin on your phone instantly. Never miss a sale on your favorite League of Legends skins and champions with Gamer.